Now, if you all know anything about your boy Craze, that I don't really do patch notes. I leave patch notes to the homies like Astacross and individuals of that stature, right? But in this instance, I have to go over the patch notes because it's going to lead me to a further dialogue that I want to have with you all, and I want to get you all's thoughts in regard to, all right? So Marathon went ahead and hit us with a little patch 1.0.6.2, all right? The first thing that they talk about here is the item economy, and this is what I'm going to further expand upon, but I'm going to get through the patch notes first, and then we'll have a further dialogue, all right? So with the item economy, we have one free Cryo Archive sponsor kit that can be claimed each week. Okay, cool. Also, they fixed an issue preventing rooks from spawning with the updated 6 depleted shield charges and depleted patch kits that sponsor kits now have. All right, so my rooks, y'all should be a little bit healthier when y'all spawn in and try to scavenge up some type of loot. Good. In regard to combat here, we have some weapon changes, all right? And this is one thing Bungie always does. They always overtune and then reel things back in, right? When the community says something is broken and it's on one side of the spectrum, Bungie often overcorrects on the other side of the spectrum, see what the community is saying, and then they meet somewhere in the middle. And that's what they did with the WSTR Shotgun, all right? So they increased the damage from 78 to 85. So this thing now, I believe, can 2-tap blue shields. I don't know if it can purple or not. Not 100% sure. Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know in that regard, but I believe it can take out my blue shielders now, all right? But what they did was they reduced the critical multiplier from 1.15 to 1.05, and then they slightly reduced the rate at which damage falls off. So the range has been slightly increased. I had to reread this a few times because I'm like, wait a minute, they reduced the rate at which damage falls off. That means that the range is nerfed. And I was like, no. So since they reduced the rate at which the damage falls off, the range is extended a bit more, all right? But they added a 75% damage bonus against AI targets. So now the WSTR can be a good PvE alternative. You may have more incentive to bring in more MIPS rounds and utilize it more, which I'm like, all right, cool. And then when it comes to the slug converter prestige mod, they fixed an issue that causes the slug to hit geometry when aiming around corners, vents, ladders, or nearby cover. That's good, because if you ever have hit some type of geometry that wasn't there, you thought you were around the vent and you shot and it still regged as if you hit the vent, that's frustrating. Or that piece of cover, yeah. Super frustrating, so I'm glad they ironed that out. Increased the critical multiplier from 1.15 to 1.9. Goodness gracious. You hit somebody in the noggin now, man. You eating, dog. You eating. You know what I'm saying? They reduced projectile velocity and increased bullet drop. So you gotta... Wait, they increased bullet drop there. If somebody's far enough away, you gotta actually account for that now. Interesting. Okay, cool. And then they reduced the aim assist cone radius by 48%. I'm with that. So this is going to take a lot more skill to actually use, and you will get your reward for lining up that headshot, accounting for the bullet drop, and pulling the trigger. W, I like it. Cool. Very curious to hear what you all think about this WSTR. I don't even want to call it a buff, but it's a little bit more of a quality of life change there. You know, I'm very curious to know what you all think about this. All right. User interface and experience. They fixed an issue causing the reinforced shield to use the incorrect base shield icon. The reinforced icon now correctly shows a plus inside the shield. Cool. Differentiation. That's all we want when it comes to the icons. Bungie, you ain't got to change too much. Just give us some variants so we can have an understanding like we did with the trait system in Destiny. W. They fixed an issue causing the armory HUD to disappear when hovering over offered items. Okay, cool. Fix an issue that was causing an empty space to show instead of a grid in the overflow inventory screen. Okay, cool. For contracts on Outposts, they fixed an issue that could cause runners to get stuck behind barriers in the drone wing while completing the Might of Truth Lies 2 of 6 contract. Okay. W, anytime we can fix bugs like that, W. For zones, Cryo Archive, they added vent covers in the biostock and preservation that prevent early access from the hub until Security Clearance 2 is unlocked. Security Clearance 1 is needed to open the vents for those who infill on the Bioshock or preservation side. Developer note, our previous update began the process of ensuring teams cannot bypass the security doors, separating the wings from one another without appropriate clearance. This patch continues that effort. We'll continue to monitor and be on the lookout for more instances like this to ensure we keep spawns in a fair state. And then they also fixed an issue that prevented that prevented scan terminals from reliably revealing battery locations on the map. So that's a W. I know we were really fussing big time about people being able to spawn rush. This will help mitigate that a bit more. Very interested to see how this plays out as we move into cryo. Ooh, oh my gosh, I thought I broke my chair. As we move into cryo archive this week. Very interested to see how that all plays out there. And then in general, they fixed an issue causing inconsistencies when using the push-to-talk toggle setting for crew voice chat on controllers. W, my controller homies, hopefully you all report back and say, hey, look, it is fixed, and that's beautiful. Love it for you all. For stability, they fixed an issue that could cause players to receive an error and be unable to join the game when starting their run. Interesting. And then localization, they fixed an issue causing the carry accommodation description to display incorrectly in some languages. So now all my homies that speak other languages outside of English, I hope that is cleaned up for you all, okay? So overall, kind of a short list of things that were adjusted on the patch notes. The big things, of course, the waster got rebalanced. The prestige mod got rebalanced a little bit. Some UI fixes, some contract fixes. They're continuing to clean up cryo archive, which is a W. WWW, right? And I'm not talking World Wide Web. If you know, you know. That was a terrible dad joke, but whatever. So kind of the big thing I wanted to talk about here after going over the patch notes, and hopefully I don't ramble too long, is about this statement right here. In the item economy section, one free cryo archive sponsored kit can now be claimed each week. And I think this can be the start of something that can be beautiful and something that can make cryo archive a bit more accessible for players, especially players that do not have the opportunity to play a crap ton. You know what I'm saying? So just to put things in perspective, one free cryo archive sponsor kit, that's cool, right? What will be super dope is after you burn through your free sponsor kit, if they had another cryo archive kit, or you could just repurchase it for, I don't know, 3 to 4K, right? The reason why this would be so cool is because if you're somebody that does not play often, I would safely assume you probably have anywhere from 30 to 50,000 credits on average. And this is completely anecdotal, by the way. Don't take this verbatim. Don't take this as law. This is just what I estimate in my mind, right? So if you have 30 to 50,000 credits, you got a couple purples in your vault, nothing too extensive. You got maybe 1 or 2 purple shields, maybe a row or 2 of blue shields, and then everything else is pretty much green for the most part. If I'm that type of player that knows, man, if I was to equip what I have in the matter of 3 cryo runs, I would be done. I wouldn't be able to re-enter because we know we need that 5K minimum, right? If players had an opportunity to purchase a sponsor kit, or even if the sponsor kit was 5,000, right? I'm just saying 3 to 4K just for the sake of, I don't know, just preserving pockets. So even if it was a little bit more expensive, right? So let's say hypothetically it's 5,000 and I'm somebody that has 30,000 credits, you know, I may say, don't quite want to expend what I've already accrued for whatever reason, by the way, right? Most of us have came to terms that everything we have, we will lose, whether if it's through the wipe or if it's just through playing, right? But for those that have not, it gives them another avenue and it gives them another option to explore, right? They may say, man, I don't want to burn what's in my vault. I worked really hard to get it. I just want to keep it to stare at until the wipe for whatever reason. Hey, all good, right? All good. It's your prerogative. That individual will have another means to still be able to access cryo archive, right? If they're like, I don't care about my credits because I just care about what's in my vault, they can do an additional 3 to 4 runs before they start to run broke, right? So if the sponsor kit costs 5,000 and they have 30,000 credits, like if it's me, I'll probably, that may buy me, and by the way, to preface, this is if I don't make it off of the map, right? That buys me 3 to 4 additional runs in cryo archive. And I feel good about that, right? So even if I get rocked 4 raids in a row and I spent 20 G's, I'm gonna be like, dang, bro, I can't believe I spent 20 G's getting clapped in cryo archive, pause, but I can't believe I just did that. But at the same time, yes, my credits are down, but I can look at my vault and be like, man, that was fun, right? That was fun. I didn't clear my entire vault out. Life is still going on. We're cool, right? And then what that can do is that can incentivize players during the week or whenever Cryo Archive is inactive to say, all right, I'm gonna do rook runs, I'm just going to do money runs, I'm gonna go in for valuables, I'm gonna do stuff like that. So that way I can accrue enough credits to jump back into Cryo Archive the following weekend, right? Or the next time Cryo Archive comes around. So now that casual can start to create their own like gameplay loop on a week-to-week basis, and we get more people in to be able to experience Cryo Archive. And I think that would be a W, right? Now, would it be somewhat annoying for the players that go in fully yacked, for the players that go in with all purples and golds and all that stuff? It would be in some capacity, right? It would be. But again, like, I think it would be cool because more people get to experience Cryo Archive. My people that are going in with purples and golds, and if you are yacked to the gills like that from the get-go, then there really isn't more you're going to be able to acquire off of other players if you're fighting other purple teams or gold teams. Like, yeah, you get more of that you'll sell or do whatever you want with that. I understand that. But again, I think if we're talking in terms of accessibility, I think that could be cool. Or maybe they can do something with the matchmaking, right? Where if you equip a sponsor kit, you're going to be more apt to fight other sponsor kit teams on Cryo Archive. And I know that tends to lean a little bit more towards what I mentioned in one of my prior videos about doing a Cryo Archive experimental queue, like with sponsored kits like we've done or like we've been doing with Dire Marsh. I think that could work too. But I think if that's something, if that's something Bungie does not do, if they don't do the experimental sponsored queue on Cryo Archive, then giving the people an opportunity to purchase a sponsor kit, I think could be a nice placeholder. See how it plays, feel things out, and then accommodate accordingly, right? Maybe they end up making the sponsor kits more expensive. Maybe they limit them, right? Maybe you can only purchase 5 of them every Cryo Archive cycle. That's fine, you know, but I think just giving players the opportunity to cop sponsored kits so that they don't feel freaked out about losing their gear. It's like, yeah, we know your gear is going to go no matter what, but there are some players that are just collectors. They want to get to the end of the wipe and look at their vault and see nothing but golds and purples, and they don't want to lose a single one. Hey, again, that's their prerogative and that's all good. And this gives those type of players still leeway to get into Cryo Archive and experience it, you know? Now, these players obviously can't bring in keys and stuff like that, so they won't really get to dive into the vaults, which again, that may lead to some type of matchmaking, tuning, and things like that. So, and as I sit here and ramble and talk about it and I think about it, that would be a great trade-off, right? Hey, look, you can't do any vaults or get any subroutines to potentially get to the compiler if you don't go in with an actual loadout and bring in an actual key, right? But if you want to go and learn the map or experience the map or fight or just figure out what the heck is going on Cryo Archive, cop a sponsor kit and have fun, right? Maybe you just want to go in and try to, you know, get some higher tier salvage. Maybe you can fight a few teams. Maybe you can win against a few of these higher level teams by outsmarting them. Whatever the case may be, you come up, rinse, repeat, right? So there is a bit of a trade-off there that I think will be cool. I think will be cool. But with that being said, I will hand the mic over to you all. What do you all think about what I just talked about having the opportunity to purchase sponsor kits, and what do you all think about the patch notes in an entirety? I'll be very curious to hear you all's thoughts. And yeah, I'm gonna shut up. I've been rambling too much. Until next time, it's been your boy Cray. We are signing out. I love you all. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.